feels good to say those words. Let me just slow it down right about now. Now, we are in strange times, aren't we? We are in really, really strange times. First and foremost, I hope everyone is healthy and safe, basically looking after each other in this unprecedented moment. It's funny, today really truly feels like the first day of spring. I mean, where I am right now, it's 12 degrees. It's probably the first time that I've managed to wear short sleeves outside this year, or at least in the UK. And yet, on the other side of that glass, there's this overwhelming sense that there's this invisible enemy, which is effectively forcing us all to self-isolate. Today is all about comparing the 991 manual GT3 with the 997 GT3 RS, which I recently drove on the channel. Now, let's face it, the main reason for comparing the two is the fact that they're both manual cars. And there's 10 years between them. Can you believe that? There's 10 years between the 997 GT3 RS, the Gen 2, and this car, the 991 GT3 Gen 2 with a manual gearbox. Now, let's just cover some stats before we highlight the key features and how each of them differ or are similar. First of all, let's start with the thing for me which really makes a GT3 a GT3, and that is the engine. So back in the 997 Gen, that was the last of the Metzger engine. It was a 3.8, this is a 4-litre. It was a nice rounded 444 horsepower. This is 500 horsepower, and the torque levels as well were quite different. The 997 Gen was running 317 pounds-feet of torque, whereas this is running 339 pounds-feet of torque. Now, that doesn't sound like a dramatic jump. The biggest difference is that the feeling of torque and the engine is that the power is available from much earlier on in the 991s. The torque is available across the whole band. It's available at much lower RPM. In actual fact, considering that Porsches, and particularly that 3.8 RS, the power is very much associated with 6,000 RPM and onwards. So right at the top of the rev range, this car in 6th gear, going at fairly normal speeds, has an immediate pickup in 6th gear. Now, in the 997, you wouldn't have a cat in hell's chance of having the type of pickup that this has. However, interesting observations from the engine point of view, and this is more in terms of the way that the throttle interacts with the engine. Despite the fact that this is truly fly-by-wire, the pickup of the throttle response in the Metzger engine actually felt a little bit sharper. Now, I'm not sure if that's because the flywheel is smaller, but the engine had that sort of a lighter fizz about it. It almost felt like a sort of sewing machine component. It feels that airy and floaty and light. But this engine, if there was a word for it, feels a little bit thicker. Now, I think the extra addition of torque definitely contributes to that feeling of thickness. I often associate the sensation of torque with this almost malleable feeling underneath your right foot. It's a thicker energy that the 997 didn't have. And so where the 997 relies on its horsepower and revs more, this has a little bit more torque and thickness throughout the rev range to pull you through no matter what gear you're in. Now, having said that, that is not to detract from the atmospheric character of this thing. Now, 3.8 RS in the 997 revved out to 8,500 RPM. Now, don't forget, 10 years ago, that was fantastic. When the 991 Generation 1 GT3 RS launched, that also revved to 8,500 RPM in the new 991 Generation engine. So that 10-year gap, and they still only managed to wring out 8,500 RPM. It wasn't until the Gen 2 that it was able to eke out the extra 500 that made it so special. And speaking of that, yes, despite the fact that the throttle response of the 3.8 initially feels sharper, because this thing ultimately has more power, the pickup and torque, the torque pull that you get from it, makes up for it. It's got this massive linear drag that carries you all the way through the rev range. It's a remarkable feeling. Now, speaking of rev range, 9,000 RPM. Let me just back this off for you, and let's just see what this thing sounds like up to 9,000 in a manual gearbox. It is a remarkable feeling. thing does, the visceral sense of energy that this develops at that last 500 RPM. Actually, from 8 till 9, incredible. But that last 500 RPM, it might not sound much, it might not seem much on paper. 500 RPM, what's the big deal? And I say this a lot when I'm talking about the nuances of what makes these cars so stimulating, is that as humans, we are bags of nerves and sensors, and our brains work so fast that these minute details on paper might not seem a big deal, but when they connect to our brains and our nervous system, they are night and day between what makes something fabulous to an explosive display of energy. And that's what this provides at those last 500 RPM. Now then, let's talk about the interaction of the gearbox, because that's really what ties the 997 and this car together. Now, first of all, I'm just going to get this out of the way. The 997 has a more chunky, rugged feel about it. And as a result, it wasn't until I jumped straight back into this car after being in the 997 that I realized that this as a manual is so easy to live with on a daily basis. The clutch is super light. The shift of the gears is effortless. Now, the easiest way of explaining it is between gears in this car, you can go from 3 straight to 4, just in one fluid movement. Might sound really obvious, but in a 997 GT3 RS, you can't go 3-4. It's 3 into its slot, into 4. There's these very distinct notches between each shift, and it got much more weight to it. Combined with the extra weight of the clutch pedal, the clutch pedal weight in the 997 versus this is like you're trying to part magnetically bonded clutch plates. It's like they just don't want to let go. So when you press that clutch, it's really heavy, it's really weighted. And when you get in it and you're driving at slower speeds in the 997, you think, not sure if I want to live with this on a daily. Everything's a little bit heavier than it is in this. But truth be told, when you start to grab it by the scruff of its neck and you're driving it quite spiritedly, the way that those heavier weighted components adds up to ultimately a greater sense of connection with the car is quite remarkable. And that also carries through to the steering feel. Now, when you step out of this, the last thing you would think is, do you know what this needs is a heavier clutch, a heavier gear shift, heavier steering. And to be honest, the way I'm driving this car, the way I'm living with it, 20,000 miles now in this car, truly is a daily driver. That's probably not what I would want. But don't forget, the RS is what makes it that slightly more edgy, track-focused, more driver-focused car. And having those extra weights, particularly through steering, clutch, and gear stick, just adds that extra level of chunky engagement that, dare I say it, this might not provide. It's not that this feels hollow in any way, and unless you had the luxury of doing a back-to-back like I'm doing now, you wouldn't think about it. But if you do, you would instantly, you step in that GT3 RS, everything's heavier, everything's chunky, and you really feel that next level of engagement interacting with each component. Now then, steering, handling, chassis. Where do we start? Now, this is really where things get a little bit unfair, because this car, the engine has been moved more forward, so the engine really sits directly over the rear axle, whereas in the 997 the engine sits over behind the rear axle, making it a true rear engine car. The difference in balance and physics of that slight shift in weight, combined with, and this is where it's really important, rear wheel steering, makes this car a ninja compared to the Gen 2 GT3 RS. This thing is a weapon when it comes to apex hunting. Now, don't get me wrong, the physics is still there in terms of if you want to initiate a drift, the lift-off oversteer, because the engine in this is still quite far back, it does initiate that bigger drift. In the 997, you only have to hint at the slightest lift of throttle mid-corner, your back is coming out. And in contrast to that, unless you are trail braking pretty heavily into corners, because there's no weight over the front and there's no rear wheel steer in a 997, unless you know how to drive the car properly, it can therefore suffer from understeer. Now, the annoyance in the 997 is that the understeer will always be there when you're going slower, because you don't have the inertia to justify trail braking towards corners. And and therefore slower speeds it can feel like the front end is sort of washed out a little bit, whereas in this, thanks to rear wheel steer and that shift of engine forwards, it is planted. The grip on this is outstanding. The 3.8, once you get it up to track speeds and you can throw that weight forwards, then it all clicks and comes together, and that's when it really feels like you're driving a more conventional Porsche and Porsche physics. That alone as well, very special experience. And so it depends on what you want, really. Interestingly, despite the fact that this is the more road biased proposition, the 3.8 RS is probably a more engaging, fun car on the road, because you don't have to go quite as fast in order to make it break loose, or you can play with its physics easier because there's no other measures keeping it in check. It's just you and a big weight out back playing with that throttle in order to find out how much opposite lock you need. That is pretty cool. So yes, all in all, I think the simple answer is you need both. They're just amazing things. Amazing machines. What a car. So ultimately, how do they compare if I was to summarise briefly? Well, I think it honestly comes down to physics. That for me is definitely the biggest contributing factor to how these two cars differ and how they feel. Ultimately, to summarise here, this is the more precision car. If you want to go fast, this is it. If you want to really hunt out those apexes and scream, dare I say it, a more thoroughbred engine, this truly is cup car engine, boom, into a road car. Phenomenal experience. Then this is your car. Ultimately, let's summarise it. This is the faster car, and the 997 is probably the more playful car. I'm not saying here that any car is better than the other. They are truly so different, and they each have their own favourable traits. I would say 997 is more playful, dare I say it, at times more engaging, but that's probably more engaging because you're having to stay on it a bit more to keep it in check. There's just a different physics balance to play with. Whereas this car, if you really want to attack stuff and just be so precision, the rear wheel steering, the phenomenal grip, that incredible engine with the extra pull, the better chassis and weight distribution and balance on this car makes it a more lap time hunter. But if you want to slow it down a notch and feel that chassis move at a more accessible speed, the 997 is such a sweet spot. And I think arguably for a playful road car, you'd probably end up going with the 997. For the car you'd like to hunt an apex with and use on a more daily basis, 991. And let's not forget, that 997 I was driving had no aircon, no sat-nav, nothing. So that really is just about pure car. This thing, I'm plugging it in to Apple CarPlay, I'm using Waze, I've got fantastic Bose sound system, everything's there for me to enjoy from those 20,000 miles that this car's now done. And I think that basically summarises it. You probably want to spend more time in this car, but you're probably going to bring that 997 out on a sunny Sunday just to tickle your petrol head glands in all the right places. So, thank you so much for watching. Please leave your questions and comments below. And once again, as we open this video, unprecedented times right now, I am going to try and keep the content flowing as best as I can, but we've got to be socially responsible. I'm not going to be out on any road trips. Probably going to be spending some more time at the bunker because it's in the middle of nowhere. Thankfully, really thankfully, we're in the middle of a 400-acre airfield and there's no one on it. So hopefully we can bring you some content from there in the coming days and weeks. So please, please, please stay safe, look after each other, and I look forward to hopefully keeping you entertained through this unbelievable time. So thank you so much. Ciao. Woo-hoo!